The county gets ready to open a fifth vaccine super site, this one at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. How many people it could vaccinate daily once supply picks up.
And with vaccine supply still limited, new research suggests people who have recovered from COVID only need one dose. Why it's not so easy turning that research into action.
Mothers who have given birth during the pandemic have faced a challenge. In a story that's positively San Diego, we share the stories that two new moms and how they've navigated the virus to keep their newborns safe.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
Just days after Governor Newsom praised San Diego's vaccination efforts as an example for the state, a fifth superstation is about to open. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. The Del Mar Fairground is about to join Petco Park and the county's three other sites in vaccinating thousands of people a day. Our ABC 10 News reporter John Horn explains why, rain or shine, that site will be ready to serve.
The Del Mar Fairgrounds are about more than just the annual race meet and county fair. The venue has also been used as an evacuation center during wildfires, and soon it will be a place to administer up to 10,000 COVID vaccines per day.
To be able to go down to the Del Mar Fairgrounds to get the vaccine to end this pandemic sounds like a good option to me.
Larna Hartnack lives just north of the fairgrounds. She and her two boys are waiting for their turn to head down and get their COVID-19 vaccines.
To be able to have a location that's in North County and hopefully the lines won't be as long. I think, everyone with their parents, or whether or not it's for their parents or themselves, would be happy to have that.
The fairgrounds would become the county's fifth vaccine super center, filling a void along the North County coastline. And the center will be weather resistant. The county had to cancel appointments for a day and a half at Petco Park in January due to concerns over tents withstanding the winds during a storm. In Del Mar, Scripps health workers will be administering vaccines inside the Weiland Center.
We're doing our best to learn from mistakes in the past, or sort of lessons learned, just being clear that none of San Diego is weatherproof.
County Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer says while the fairgrounds would be able to administer 10,000 shots per day, supply is still the issue.
We're doing the work to be ready here in San Diego to be able to administer doses as quickly and efficiently as possible as soon as they become available.
But starting Friday, what is available will start going into eligible arms where the turf meets the surf. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
And that superstation is scheduled to open at 9 a.m. this Friday for both drive-through and walk-through vaccinations. Appointments are required. Visit vaccinesuperstationsd.com to make an appointment. The county's 14-day rolling average for positive cases continues a steady decline. Today, it dropped to 6.5%. That's because only 4% of all tests reported today came back positive. That amounts to 810 new cases. While cases have been low over the past week, deaths still remain high. The county says 51 more people have passed away from this virus.
Governor Newsom addressed California's vaccine supply today, saying the entire state is getting about 1 million doses a week right now. And he said while demand is still outpacing supply, he expects good news soon.
Come March, April, May, we're going to start seeing more abundance. We're going to see more availability, not only of Pfizer and Moderna, but also, as the congressman said, J&J, the one-dose regimen, and the emergency youth authorization, we hope as early as the end of this month.
The governor says as of today, more than 5 million Californians have gotten at least their first dose of the vaccine. He says that we're hitting those benchmarks quicker, and we were at 4 million people vaccinated just last Friday.
And with the shortage of vaccines, some new research is offering a potential way to free up supply. Give people who have recovered from COVID just one dose, not two. Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth on those findings.
When the vaccines started rolling out, doctors across the country started noticing a trend. People who had recovered from COVID seemed to experience more intense side effects than others to the very first dose.
Just the other day, I was in the hospital and I talked to one of my colleagues who unfortunately had COVID a few months ago. he got the shot and he said, wow, it really knocked him out.
New research on 230 patients showed those with existing antibodies to the virus were roughly twice as likely to report fatigue after the first shot than those who had never been infected. They also experienced significantly higher rates of headache, chills, and fever. Dr. Mark Sawyer of Rady Children's Hospital isn't surprised, since those side effects are a sign your body's immune system is jumping into action.
So we know that second doses of vaccine have more side effects. This is essentially the same as that. Vaccination after infection is just like having a second dose of vaccine.
The researchers behind the study then took things a step further and analyzed antibody responses.
This new paper, and actually several others like it, is very interesting because it does show the levels of antibody that you get if you've had COVID once and then you just get a single booster are basically on par with people that have gotten 2 doses.
And maybe not just on par. The research showed people who had recovered from the virus produced 10 times more antibodies after just 1 shot than an unexposed person produced after 2 shots.
Now, there's no change in policy yet. And part of that is because we don't really know exactly what level of antibody you need to be fully protected. But it's interesting, and it makes sense to me that, people already have seen COVID and already have some degree of immune protection. You might just need a single booster dose.
Some experts are calling on the CDC to go to a 1-dose policy for COVID survivors to free up potentially millions of shots. But others say it might be tricky to confirm people's past infection status, and the data on all this is thin.
I don't think we have enough data on the single dose following infection to know whether that is going to be good enough. So I don't think we're ready to make that recommendation.
For now, the CDC recommends that every eligible person get 2 doses of the mRNA vaccines, including COVID survivors. But the CDC says COVID survivors should wait at least 90 days after their illness to start the regimen. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
A local nonprofit is opening a seniors-only vaccination site in San Marcos tomorrow. Our partners at KPBS report it will be operated by Gary and Mary West Health. The site will offer the Moderna vaccine specifically to people 65 and older. The CEO of West Health says they looked at the other vaccination sites around the county to help streamline the process.
So what you see at this site is a very limited movement for the senior. So we check in here where we'll have pre-populated the registration forms for the senior. They'll then be escorted by a team to our vaccination cells. And once they're in these seats, and we have seats to accommodate for caregivers as well, they don't need to move. So everything else will come to them.
And they expect to vaccinate about 500 seniors or more a day. This site will be open at the Gary and Mary West Pace Center on Descanso Avenue. It's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Appointments can be made through the county's website or by calling 211. Again, only for people 65 and older. Our ABC 10 News in-depth team is committed to tracking down answers to your vaccine questions and sharing your stories. Just text us at tips@10news.com.
Prosecutors say they believe the murder of a beloved high school teacher in North Park was carefully planned. Today, Jesse Alvarez pleaded not guilty to killing Mario Fierro. Fierro was a teacher and football coach at Cathedral Catholic High School. His fiancée had filed a restraining order against Alvarez more than a year ago, accusing him of stalking and suicidal threats. The court, though, dismissed that case. Today, prosecutors read a letter she wrote about Alvarez.
I stand before you a woman who has lived in fear of the defendant, Jesse Alvarez, for over a year.
Prosecutors say in the weeks before the murder, Alvarez was caught trying to get onto the high school campus. They also say he waited outside Fierro's home for an hour before the shooting. Prosecutors add on the day of the shooting, Alvarez was dressed in all black, drove his brother's car, and waited outside Fierro's home for an hour. Today, the judge denied him bail.
During the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump, House managers presented their case in a chronological timeline today. They played never-before-seen security footage from January 6th, showing the breach of the Capitol and the evacuation of Congress. In one video, Officer Eugene Goodman, who was praised for leading the mob away from an unguarded door to the Senate chambers, is seen earlier with Senator Mitt Romney.
Officer Goodman passes Senator Mitt Romney and directs him to turn around in order to get to safety.
Several Senate Republicans have called the security video riveting, but say House managers haven't convinced them that Trump incited that riot. Each side has 16 hours for the opening arguments. Democrats plan to wrap up tomorrow. It's not clear if the defense team will start then or wait until the next day. Well, we will have continued live coverage of the impeachment trial on our streaming apps. You can watch by downloading our free 10 News app on your phone or a streaming device.
San Diego's Public Safety Committee will not decide on an ambulance provider for the city until it gets a report from the independent budget analyst. The committee voted today to put the issue to a later date. The city has been exploring the possibility of contracting with Danish company Flak for exclusive ambulance service. Right now, the city is contracted with AMR until June of next year. Activists, including the Reverend Al Sharpton, have asked the city to reject the offer from that Danish company, saying the company's service is poor and inequitable.
East County State Senator Brian Jones has introduced a bill to crack down on people who steal packages from front porches. Right now, porch piracy is only a misdemeanor, even on repeat offenders. Jones says his bill would allow prosecutors to charge repeat offenders as felons, leading to increased jail time. Jones says it's a necessary bill because more people are having items and groceries delivered because of the pandemic, and it hasn't yet been assigned to a committee for a hearing.